I'm telling you, some of the dumbest people I know make way more money than me. And I always like to say, and I tell Alex, I'm like, dude, I think I gotta be a little dumber, because when you are less intelligent, what's the advantage? You believe it's possible. The more intelligent somebody is, the more they doubt things, the more pessimistic they can be, the more reasons they give as to why it won't work. I always remind myself, I'm like, you gotta be a little dumb, because in order to win the game of money, you have to be optimistic enough to try as if you could win. You see, money is not a game just for geniuses. It is a game for anybody who's willing to learn the rules and play. The next principle is understanding why you make it in the first place. Understanding that money is a tool. So let's reverse engineer this. How do you make money? Most of the times you use or do something with your time that then translates into money. So what precedes having money is learning how to create it with your time. But here's the thing, it can't stop there. Money is also a tool to get you something. And what I didn't understand when I didn't make a lot of money is I thought, oh, I use my time to make money and then I have money. But money is just a tool as well. If you just have a bunch of dollar bills in your bank account, what does that do for your life? Think about it. How much power do you have if you just have a bank account full of a bunch of dollar bills? How does it change your life? What happens next? You see, just like imagine if you did nothing with your time, you would have no money. If you do nothing with your money, what happens? Nothing changes. You don't achieve your dreams because you don't understand this. Money is a tool. And the wealthiest people I understand want more money, not so that they can say they have more money, because they want more resources and they want more tools and they understand that money gets them that. The only reason to make more money is to do something else with it. It's not let me make more money. It's what do I want to happen from making this money? The first time I really realized this was when I was going through the process and sold my business. It was about 3.5 years ago. And in growing the business, I'd taken out around 45 million in dividends. And then when we sold the business, got about the same in cash. And a lot of people said, like, how does it feel having the money? Like, that must be amazing, like all these things. And I was like, no, because that money isn't going to change my life right now. It's not like me getting $45 million hitting my bank account is going to change my life. What's going to change my life is what I do with the money. And so in my mind, that money was a resource, and I could trade that money for a building that I could start my next business, the first few investments I do, and the businesses I buy, the team that I'm gonna have to hire ahead of time. And so what I do with the money is what leads to me achieving my dreams, because the money does nothing unless you learn how to use it. Another example of this, a lot of businesses get started, they make a lot of money, and then they just keep making money and they have no idea what to do with it, right? They just stockpile cash. What value are you creating with the money? Because that's really what you want to do. How do you take this money and create even more value with it? That is the game of money, and that is how it's a tool. And so an example of this is we have a portfolio company that spits out a ton of EBITDA. And that business specifically, when we look at the market, we said, what could we do with this money that would make this business even more valuable, that would make this business better, and would help us achieve our vision of this business even faster? And the answer was software. And so what did we do? We started taking all the money that we were making from the business, plowing it in and making the software. And you know what that did? It's double, if not tripling, the valuation of the business. So if those founders ever want to sell, now that they've taken that money and they've created this software, what has that done in return? Is it's made the business almost 3 times as valuable. And so what do? They learned that money is a tool that can make their business even more valuable. So because of that, they're probably going to get 3-4 times as much as they would if they hadn't done anything. I'm a fan of, when you don't have a lot of money, having an oh shit fund and saving enough. But beyond that, what are you using your money for? And that is what I started to understand until I realized money's a tool. Money is a tool for me to build something that can make me even more money. And so you have to understand, how are you using your money and making it work for you? And a lot of people think when you say making your money work for you, that means putting it in all these investments that you have no fucking clue of. No. It means, what do you want to do with the money? What's the use of having money? If it just sits in a bank account beyond your oh shit fund, truly pointless. It does nothing to change your life. And so the question really is, how can I use this money to change my life for the better and help me achieve my dreams? Money is like a hammer. It is only as useful as what you build with it. The next principle is understanding that the more you measure the more you make. So most of the times when people don't have the kind of money they want, they ignore looking at their money. They don't look at their bank account, they don't measure, they're not counting how much they're spending. And that is the exact behavior that keeps you poor and stuck. When you're poor, you want to be measuring more than when you have the money you want. Just like if somebody's overweight, are we gonna say, yeah, don't step on the scale? No, we need you to step on the scale. We need you to know where you need to go, right? We need you to know how bad it is so we know how far away from our goal we are. And the thing is, how can you improve anything if you don't know where it stands today? The more you measure, the more you make. This goes for anything. There's an example where there's a study. Basically, it has a group of people over the Christmas holiday. It's over a 6-week span of the holidays. And those people, half of them weigh themselves every day. The other half doesn't weigh themselves at all. Guess what happens? Just by weighing, no change in diet, no exercise, nothing. The group that weighs themselves every day lost, on average, 3.9 pounds. Not even trying. The group that didn't weigh themselves gained 4.9 pounds over 6 weeks. So what does that tell us? It tells us that if you measure something, it often goes in the direction you want it to. And if you want something to improve in either direction you're looking, then you want to measure it. I experienced this when I first started making money, because one of the best pieces of advice I got was every day look at your money. And so what I put together was essentially what I called like a net worth tracker. That had all the financial metrics personally and of the business, and I would have my assistant update it every day. And this was when I first started making money. And what did it do? It kept it completely top of mind for me where my money was going. And so I was very diligent about it. And you know what it did? As long as I had my net worth tracker, that money went in the direction I wanted it to. Because what was I doing? I was constantly looking at how do I increase my revenue and my assets? How do I decrease my liabilities and my debt? In fact, Bain did a study on this, and they found that people who measure their money make 2 to 3 times as much. And they found that businesses that measure their money on a consistent basis make it 2 to 3 times as fast as those who don't. And so what you have to understand is, just like if you want a person to improve, you want to give them fast feedback, right? More feedback more frequently. If you want your money to improve, you have to look at it more often, more frequently, to keep it more top of mind. If you want to make more money, you have to measure it more frequently. Avoiding measurement because you're scared of what the outcome is or what it looks like is like avoiding the doctor when you're sick. It only is going to prolong the problem. And so you need to keep it top of mind. Now, this is why I am a fan of a lot of those apps they have out there for people to monitor their income. Would I say, yes, focus on saving every penny and put all of your attention there and measure that? No, but I would say, it's good to monitor it and instead put the measuring on how do I increase my income. So for me, when I was starting off as a personal trainer and I first started having control over my income and generating revenue, one of the things that I did is I checked my bank account every single freaking day because I wanted to understand how me working equated to me making more money. And I wanted to see how that went to the bottom line every day. And I do think the reason that I was able to go from broke to being one of the top performers was because I looked at it every day. I looked at how much money I was making, how many sales I was making, how many clients I had every single day. If you want more of it, measure it more often. The last principle is to understand that you need to buy for now and later. Money loves a long-term mindset. If you make money decisions for the short term, you will often accumulate liabilities, debt. If you make money decisions for the long term, you will likely accumulate assets, more money. If you act rich quickly, you're gonna likely be broke or stay broke. But if you act broke, and remember, frugality drives innovation, you will likely stay rich. And so this can be on a micro scale, this can be on a macro scale, but it really has to do with making decisions that are best for the short and long term. And when you're making a money decision, you might be walking around and see something and be like, oh, I love that car. And you're like, oh, it would make me feel really good if I could be driving that car this weekend on my date. And then you buy the car. But was that the best decision to do for the next 4 to 6 months? Probably not. Or on the other hand, investing in a skill, for example, might be best for the short and long term. Because in the short term, maybe it can help you get a different job because you have this new skill. In the long term, you probably make more money because you have more skill. What people who have a lot of money don't do is make stupid decisions. It's not that you have to make some genius investment decision to be rich. It's that you don't make a stupid one, right? You don't make one that's just for the short term. An example of this is when I first started Gym Launch, Alex and I, even for the first 2 years, we still drove my Prius that had a crack in the windshield, right? And we would bring it to people's houses and they'd be like, I thought you guys made a lot of money. And I was like, I mean, yeah, but I don't give a shit about a car, man. Like, I don't have enough money to be acting rich. It's funny because though we even did that, I saw behavior of people on our team that weren't even like that. In fact, in the very beginning, we had a sales guy. In his first month, he made $40,000 in commission. And that was right before we realized we needed to change our commission structure because it was way overpaying our salespeople. Before we could even get to telling the team that we were gonna change the commission, he bought a new house and a new car off of his first month, aka 4 weeks of making money. So what did he do? He bought for now. He didn't think about later. He didn't think about where this is gonna happen. He didn't think about the fact this is a small company, it's growing really fast. One day that always slows down. He just thought about what he wanted right now. And so, you know, funny enough, he ended up selling that car not even a year later and downsizing his house. And so what wealthy people do, and what I've come to realize, is they don't make those decisions. They don't make short-term money decisions. Another example where I've seen this is, you know, we had a portfolio CEO, and as soon as he started making like $1 million a month, he started flying private, staying at the nicest hotels, like legitimately places nicer than me. And the first thing that I thought is I was like, he ain't keeping this money. Because what does that behavior indicate? It indicates poor decision-making, short-term mindedness. People who are short-term minded are very unlikely to keep the money that they're making. And so one of the things that I've realized is that people who make a lot of money and people who are rich buy for now and later, not just with investments, but with every purchase they make. Because even the smallest things, like buying a ton of art for your house, it can become a liability because it takes your attention, it takes your time to keep things and upkeep things. Rich people are constantly thinking about how this is going to benefit them in the short and long term. And they're making money decisions that are going to give them attention back rather than take attention from them. So, if you want to brainwash yourself to be rich, well, first off, stop listening to broke people about how to make money. Start listening to people who actually know how to make money and listen to how they think about money and apply the same frameworks and principles that they use to keep making more money to start making more money.